Hi Alexander. I came across your YouTube channel by accident and I watched a few videos on your commentary regarding gender dynamics and relationship advice. I've never felt inclined to write to anybody on YouTube I disagree with, but here I am writing to you. I'm not sure if you have a degree in gender studies or what makes you qualified to be handing out dating advice to men, but I find your content to be quite sexist. Probably not the first one to tell you this, and probably won't be the last. Your video on the truth about his muscles essentially promotes toxic masculinity and violence against women. This idea that men need to be big, dominant, and forceful is a harmful misconception many men have when it comes to pursuing and courting a woman. The truth is, gender, attraction, and sexuality are not a simple equation. To say men are like this and women are like that, and if you only follow these rules you'll get laid and manage to convince women into sleeping with you, is wrong on so many levels. I'm shocked I even have to explain this. While I agree that there are common gender stereotypes about women and their behaviors, many of them are derived from mass media and the impact of living in a consumer-oriented society that hypersexualizes women daily. Not only are women on the brunt end of this, but so are men too, who are expected to be hypersexually active, large in demeanor, and aggressive in their pursuit of women. This language that you are promoting through your video content, like plate, broad, chick, simply objectifies women into this thing, and if you work hard enough you can just win over and fuck. Why not focus on other aspects of womanhood in your videos, other than just vain appeal like looks and sexual attraction? Why not talk about how smart, creative, and humorous women are? How kind and caring we could be? Why do all the men who send you questions only focus on women as sexual objects that they can stick their dicks into? It's honestly demeaning. I don't mean to say that you have a small dick or are innately insecure with your masculinity/sexuality. Really, don't get me wrong, that's not what I'm saying. But I do think when you put headlines like, will they date him for his money, and then none of the women actually say they would, you're mischaracterizing and misrepresenting gender dynamics in a way that only supports your point without any objective or serious research methods. Okay, I'll stop my rant here because I have a lot to say and need to continue working. Just thought I'd write to you in case you didn't know. The ideas you are promoting on your channel and the advice you're handing out is sexist, normalized violence against women, and promotes toxic masculinity. As a woman, these are all the reasons I don't feel safe in society. Please consider my safety and the safety of millions of other women around the world who are sexually harassed and assaulted each day exactly due to these kinds of harmful norms and stereotypes you are promoting, which tell men and women how they need to behave. Instead, why not be an advocate for women, an advocate for consent, and an advocate for equality, an advocate for women's health and safety? Okay, so hopefully you found that entertaining, and you're probably wondering what I sent back to her, and I'm going to explain that at the end of the video. But first I want to go through this email for a couple of different reasons. The first is that even though the content on this channel is basically common sense, and it reflects the latest understandings of evolutionary biology and psychology, I think it's important that we always keep in mind that there are people out there who consider these kinds of views, the views that I have, that likely you have, to be controversial and maybe even dangerous. Secondly, I want to use this email as an educational tool because just reading it, you can probably sense on a gut level that there's something off about the way that she's written this, something inappropriate. But what I want to do is go deeper and actually analyze why that is. So let's start here. I'm not sure if you have a degree in gender studies or what makes you qualified to be handing out dating advice to men, but I found your content to be quite sexist. Note that she hasn't asked a question here. She hasn't asked, what are my qualifications? Do you have a degree in gender studies? I will say that I don't think that a degree in gender studies is what makes you qualified to give dating advice to men. I actually don't mind the part where she says, I found your content to be quite sexist, because at least she's taking ownership of her own personal point of view. That is the correct way to frame it, to say, I found your content sexist, rather than your content is sexist, because she's taking ownership, she's taking responsibility for her interpretation. Unfortunately, it doesn't last. Your video on the truth about his muscles essentially promotes toxic masculinity and violence against women. The idea that men need to be big, dominant, and forceful is a harmful misconception many men have when it comes to pursuing and courting a woman. So it didn't take long for her to lose her humility. Now she speaks as though her opinions are objective facts. These videos promote toxic masculinity. It's a shame that she didn't just ask the question, are you concerned that this content might have the spillover effect of encouraging violence against women? Because I actually think that's an interesting discussion that we could have had. For the record, men thinking that women are attracted to displays of dominance and strength That's not a misconception, that's reality. Evolution has designed women specifically to respond to acts and displays of strength from men. And if you look through the back catalogue of my channel, you'll see a whole bunch of videos where I actually go through the results of research studies that demonstrate this. I've also conducted numerous street interviews with women on this topic where they have openly admitted that they're attracted to men with muscles, men who have confidence and assertiveness and acts of dominance. I want men to be attractive to women, and so yes, I do encourage men to embrace that masculinity. The truth is, gender, attraction, and sexuality are not a simple equation. I never said it was. I've made around 250 videos on this channel, and I still don't feel like I've adequately explained everything. To say men are like this and women are like that, and if you only follow these rules, you'll get laid and manage to convince a woman into sleeping with you, is wrong on so many levels. My channel isn't about getting women to sleep with you. I've made numerous videos about the dangers of male promiscuity. I'm shocked I even have to explain this. You don't. While I agree that there are common gender stereotypes about women and their behaviors, many of them are derived from mass media and the impact of living in a consumer-oriented society that hypersexualizes women daily. So I agree that we do have cultural stereotypes. Where I'd probably disagree is that I think that those stereotypes are primarily derived from our biology. I also agree that our society hypersexualizes women, but we would probably disagree in that I would say that men are victimized by this just as much as women are. Men have the evolutionary incentive to mate with a fertile woman, and I think it's awful that we have this consumer society where beautiful women and images of sex are constantly plastered in front of men in order to titillate them, in order to hit that response mechanism to encourage them to buy things that they don't need. Not only are women on the brunt end of this, but so are men too, who are expected to be hypersexually active, large in demeanor, and aggressive in their pursuit of women. The thing is though, that if men are overly aggressive in their pursuit of women, that could be cured overnight. All that would need to happen is that women would collectively need to agree to stop favoring dominant, aggressive men. They would need to stop sexually rewarding those guys and instead date the nice, weak, feminine guys. Then you'd find acts of male aggression would evaporate very, very quickly. The language that you are promoting through your video content, like plate, broad, chick, simply objectifies women into this thing. And if you just work hard enough, you can just win over and fuck. At this point, you begin to wonder if she's mistaken my channel for somebody else's, because I never use words like plate, broad, or chick in my videos. I find them so tacky. Why not focus on other aspects of womanhood in your videos, other than just vain appeal like looks and sexual attraction? Why not talk about how smart, creative, and humorous women are? How kind and caring we could be. That cracks me up, how kind and caring they could be. Why do all the men who send you questions only focus on women as sexual objects they can stick their dicks into? It's honestly demeaning. I've done hundreds of private consultations with men, and contrary to what you believe about men, or dare I say what you're projecting onto men, we're not that into casual sex. For men from my audience talk to me in a private consultation, it's not looking for tips to get laid, they're looking how to have functional relationships. They don't want to treat women like objects, as simply things to stick their dicks into. When a woman says that this is how men think of women, I always think that it's a reflection of the kind of men that she keeps company with. It's a reflection of her social circle, much more than it's a reflection of actual men. I don't think like that. The men that I'm friends with don't think like that. The members of the audience that I do private consultations with don't think like that. And so perhaps the perception that you have that men are these horrible, sexist, misogynistic creatures is a reflection of the kind of men that you spend time with. So maybe instead of coming after me, you could tend your own garden and clean up your own social circle. Oh, this part's good. I don't mean to say that you have a small dick or are innately secure with your masculinity/sexuality. Really, don't get me wrong, that's not what I'm saying. Except that you did say it. I mean, what kind of hamster rationalization is this? And how's the double standard? You know, body shaming is absolutely awful if it's done to women, but you can just whip out the small dick thing and that's fine. I have hundreds of videos on my channel, hours and hours of content, and you won't find a single instance of me body shaming any of the women that I feature. And yet you, in your very first interaction with me, talk about my dick? I think body shaming is abhorrent. I don't do it, and I think shame on you for engaging in such toxic behavior. Okay, I'll stop my rant here because I have a lot to say and need to continue working. Spoiler alert, she did not stop her rant here. Just thought I'd write to you in case you didn't know. The ideas you are promoting on your channel and the advice you're handing out is sexist, normalizes violence against women, and promotes toxic masculinity. No possibility for nuance, no possibility for discussion, maybe something that you haven't considered, something you haven't been educated about, something perhaps that you've misinterpreted. Maybe you want to ask some questions, seek clarification. The boldness to write this, to make such horrific claims as though they are complete facts, as though she is the ultimate arbiter of what is objectively true and what is sexist, is completely terrifying. As a woman, these are all the reasons I don't feel safe in society. Please consider my safety and the safety of millions of other women around the world who are sexually harassed and assaulted each day exactly due to these kinds of harmful norms and stereotypes you are promoting, which tell men and women how they need to behave. I completely reject any suggestion that the views on this channel promote violence against women. I find that idea to be completely ridiculous. When I promote men to embrace their masculinity, it's not so that they can be violent and aggressive towards women, it's so that they can protect women, and in doing so, making themselves more attractive, because women respond to that male strength. It makes them feel safe. From where I'm sitting, I am doing the exact opposite of what you're accusing me of doing. Instead, why not be an advocate for women, an advocate for consent, and an advocate for equality, an advocate for women's health and safety? I am an advocate for women. I'm an advocate for consent. I'm an advocate for equality. I'm an advocate for women's health and safety. I'm an advocate for all of those things. You don't know anything about me. You don't know what my personal life is like. You don't know my relationships with women. Your entire email is filled with insults, judgments, and assumptions based on ignorance. And reading it, I have to wonder what your purpose was. Did you actually want to change my mind and educate me and promote some good? Or was this just an ego trip for you because you wanted to feel good about yourself? You wanted to feel virtuous, putting the big, bad, mean, nasty man in his place. If you did want to have a constructive dialogue and actually affect some positive change, I did you a favor by writing you an email that you should have sent to me. Hello, Alexander. First of all, let me acknowledge that I have not watched all of your content and so might not be adequately informed as to your opinions, but I wanted to express some concerns. From the few videos I have seen, I worry that your content may promote toxic masculinity and violence against women. This is troubling to me because of the dangers women face in our society. I would be grateful if you respond and let me know if you feel this is a danger and are open to having a discussion about this topic. I would be happy to share my perspective on how your videos make me feel, and I'm open-minded to hear your perspective as well. I would love to get an email like that. It expresses concern, but does so with respect and good faith. Those are the essential elements that have to be in place before a constructive dialogue can begin. Because I didn't sense that she was actually interested in having a constructive dialogue, I didn't respond to her, not at first anyway, so I'm sure that doesn't surprise you, but I just thought, what's the point? But her email was useful because it allowed me to create this video, which hopefully you found educational or at the very least entertaining. But now that I've created this video and I've gone through it line by line, it seems a waste to not share it with her. So at the time of publishing this video, I will send the link to this video to her as an email response, and we'll see if she responds. So speaking to you now, the person who sent me this email, I'm addressing you directly. I'm giving you the chance that you didn't give me. I'm going to assume that you wrote this email in a bad mood and that you regret writing such toxic things to me. And I offer you an invitation. If you're actually interested in having a constructive dialogue and you're willing to speak to me with an open mind, good faith, respect, then I am willing to talk about these points with you. Hope you enjoyed that. That was a fun once-off video. I probably don't want to give this woman any more of a platform on my main channel, given how nasty she was in the first interaction. But if you're interested in following this saga, if she ever does respond, I will post her responses on my Patreon page, so you can sign up there if you want to see what happens next. Lots of guys are engaged in self-improvement. They are working hard to become the best version of themselves, to become a high-quality man who women are going to desire, who women are going to be chasing after, who women will be in competition with each other to be in a relationship with. But if you can sense that you're constantly improving yourself and improving your position in the dating market with every single month that goes by, when exactly is the right time to settle down and enter into a long-term relationship? That is the topic of my latest video. In this video, I talk about the dangers of settling down too early when you're still young and you haven't reached your peak yet, and also the dangers of settling down too late when you've passed your prime. I also give advice as to what your dating life should look like if you're still building value in yourself and you're not ready to make that full long-term commitment yet. I talk about how to conduct yourself in the dating market, what your priorities should be, and how to handle the expectations of the women that you're dating. For every video that I post here on YouTube, I post an additional bonus video on my Patreon page. That means that right now you're only seeing half of the total content that I create. If you'd like to see the other half, please go and sign up at my Patreon page. It's just a $5 a month subscription. You get access to a whole bunch of exclusive content, and it's a fantastic way to support the channel. I really hope to see you over there.